So today we're going to be looking at some Marvel superheroes, and we'll be making up a character and going through a little bit about character generation and just some of the pitfalls, and go through a little bit on how the game starts. Our final character information sheet will be the one used at the back of the player's book, but there are a handful online that are well worth looking at. They're a little bit more comprehensive. They've got starts of all sorts of things, everything you need pretty much. It's across 3 or 4 pages, which includes skills, how many slots they are, a brief description, what the benefit is, contacts, where they exist, a little bit of a story options for you if you want to put some things in, powers, how they work, ranks, what power stunts, what power feats are you working on, and as well as the overall power stunt chart. So we'll go through a lot of this in general, but all of this is really quite an in-depth look at characters, and once you've got an idea on how a character works, then you can transpose it onto one of these and it really sort of makes it look good. But today we'll just be sticking to what comes in the book, which is some base information for the player to keep and a reasonable record of what's required and so on. So making characters is a little bit different to having a pre-generated character, and so we'll get started on that. So basically there are numerous different ways of creating a hero, or what heroes exist, I should say. So the first one is the pre-generated heroes, which you get in the game, which has a number of heroes already attributed, it's like Captain America, She-Hulk, and so on, as well as Thor and a few others. You don't get a complete list and you don't get everyone in the Marvel Universe, and that's why there's a couple of different ways of making characters. So the first thing we're looking at is basically how to start this. And as you can see, I'm using the printouts because, like I said, my book is rather old and tatty. So it's got a very good description of all the stats, which is going to be needed for you to understand the importance of what each one does. And there isn't really a dump stat in the same way as there are in some games. You need pretty much every single stat. So good luck. There's also health, which is made of the total of the physical stats, and your karma, which starts off as the combination of all of your mental stats, reason, intuition, and psyche. Alright, so other things, resources and popularity, which we all sort of, resources are how wealthy the character is, and popularity, the more the things you do, the more popular you are with the general public. There's also powers, talents, and contacts, and they explain all of these sorts of things. Alright, so now, by the time we get to page 4, we're on to character creation. So it jumps straight in and gets you into it. There's a couple of holes in all of this, but what we'll do is when we're making it, we'll try and work it through so that you can see where everything is located. Because quite often, it's easy to miss where something is, and this process didn't exist in the yellow box game, so it's obviously the first time that they've introduced it to the public. They didn't release it in any of the dragons or anything else or talk about it, so this is it. Alright, so you've got your pre-generated characters, which are your standard heroes that are inside the universe that come with stats, and you can pick them up from various modules or supplements. There's a handful that come with the book, and list of their powers and so on, and what they do. Then you also have the character generated, which is what we'll be doing today. And the third one is called modeling, where you take a character that exists but doesn't have any stats, and you can apply what you think are the stats. You hand powers and contacts and talents, you hand them over to the judge, who will determine whether or not you're kind of accurate, and then work it from there. So which is why when you look at the stats of the characters, you'll see good equals this, and these are the characters that are in that category. Amazing equals this, and this is what's in the number of characters in that category. So when you're modeling, you can say, this character's a little bit better fighter than Spider-Man, but definitely not as strong, or this one has their strength is more like a Daredevil type character, or this one's a lot like Captain America, and so on, but without the exceptional strength or something. So there's different ways of playing it at that regard, but what we're going to look at today is just the generation from the general character generated abilities. So the first thing we want to do is generate an origin. We then generate primary abilities, generate a secondary abilities, generate special abilities, and then fill in the blanks. Sometimes you want to fill in the blanks first. I want a hero that does this or is like this, and then work out how to make that happen. But oftentimes you can just run with all sorts of randomization. This is a game that has options for randomization and options for choosing. So they're pretty much the only time when randomization's going to come into play is the stat generation. But to begin with, in terms of an origin, you can pick it or you can roll it. So from here we can decide what we want to do. Now when it says alien, it talks about aliens that have yet to be discovered. They're not the existing aliens like Asgardians and so on. They have different rules when it's already a pre-generated alien race. We get a good description on what things are in terms of mutants, altered humans, high-techs, robots and what defines a robot, and of course the alien. So an altered human is the majority of superheroes and heroes, bitten by something, irradiated by something, and so on. Mutants are born. Sometimes it can take a long time for their powers to show up, and sometimes it's immediate. Then you have things like the high-techs, which are any gadget-related hero or villain. You can use all this for villains as well, but generally this is where we're a player here. And so the gadgets or tools of some description and so on. So you get to start with a little bit of extra oomph in some areas, and you're a little bit weaker in others. And of course robots, which can be like Vision or the original Human Torch, or even Ultron and so on. Cyborgs are really an altered human, but aside from that, you can look up nearly any type of robot and put that down. And generally you're looking at just a few differences, but a lot of similarities in the way that they're put together. And of course aliens, as we said before, aliens represent everything that's not naturally on the planet in this dimension, or part of the standard human race, quote unquote. So there's a lot in there. Now this is only for when you're rolling up a race that hasn't got stats in the back of the judge's book, and we'll do a session on aliens and how to run an actual alien character a little bit later. But unless we roll it up, we're just sticking to all of this. So we'll assume it's a brand new alien that no one's ever seen before. And then we get straight into the numbers as to what columns and so on. So they've got some pretty cool examples to help, but there's still a few holes. So what we'll do is we'll start from the top and we'll work it from there. Okay, so today what I want to make is an altered human, and that means that I'm generating my stats using column 1 on the ranks for stats. One of my stats also gets to increase by 1 rank. That's pretty much it. So column 1, being this one here. Once we've generated our number here and we've put them in the order that we're after, Now, special note, there is nothing that says that they need to be rolled in the order of fighting, agility, strength, endurance, reason, intuition, and psyche. You can roll all the stats up and then adjust them how you wish, or you could just roll them in order, let the dice fall as they may. However you wish to do it, we'll let the judge figure that out. That's a thing that the judge needs to work out before play. And once you've assigned that, the altered human gets to increase one rank by one stat by one rank. Then you also get to modify your abilities via this chart. So there's always something to try and make your stats a little bit better anyway. These are some characters that they've made up initially. The only one that doesn't get to roll that for their stats is the high tech without a power suit. Once you've got body armor or power armor or some sort of option in that regard, then you get that, but that's special. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to roll out some stats. I'm going to do it in order, and we'll put them in here as we see fit. So our first fighting, 52. 52 is excellent. So in fact I'm going to do this in two parts. Agility, 16. Strength, 41. Endurance, 67. Reason, 80. Intuition, 13. And psyche, 73. So our initial stat layouts are this: excellent, typical, excellent, remarkable, remarkable, typical, and remarkable. But what I will do is increase one stat by +1, and I am choosing reason. I'm going to send reason from remarkable to incredible for the +1. And now I can adjust by the stat modification roll. And we'll see how many ranks are increased at each one. So the first one, that's 93. Increased by 3 ranks. Our character's fighting is excellent, and we're adding 3 ranks. So we go 1, 2, 3, now to amazing. Amazing, which is 46 as the rank number. So now our agility, $69 by 1 rank. Typical becomes good, which is 8. Strength increase or decrease, 32. Remains unchanged. Excellent, 16. Endurance 27 remains unchanged. Remarkable 26. Reason drops a rank, is 03, and the incredible goes to remarkable. Now, when you drop down one rank, you go back to the base number for that rank. So what would have been incredible 37 goes to remarkable 30. Because for some reason, yeah, incredible is 37 to 45. Intuition. 66. Increased by 1. Goes to good for 8. And Psyche. 80. Increased by 2 ranks. Which means we go up to amazing. So those are the final stats. And from there we can calculate our health and our karma. So our resources start at typical plus a roll on this modification table. So let's roll that up. Unchanged. Typical resources. We are having a secret identity. So we have 5 points apiece. It's 10 points to start, 5 each if you split your identity. You go to 20 points if you're a public identity. Then we can fill out all these other details later. So we're going a secret ID, so we'll tick that. Hero's ID is secret. And then we've got here. Okay, so the next thing that we want to look at are powers, talents, and contacts. And for that, we roll on a special chart for each of them. And this tells us what our starting is and what the maximum we can ever possibly hope to have is. For powers, 26, which gives us 3 powers with a maximum of 4. Talents, $41, which is 2 to a maximum of 5. Now contacts, 61. Two contacts with a maximum of 4. These are ultra friendly, wonderful contacts, not just the generating ones that you'll find along the way. As your character moves through the world, they will pick up neutral contacts and they can eventually move. How contacts work is a little bit different to the others, but that's also something that we'll tackle in a little moment. So the first thing we want to look at are our powers. So on the face of it, it would look like that there aren't actually a lot of powers on offer. There's a few, but you know what I mean. This isn't the complete list. Now later on in the back end of the years at the wanings of the particular game, There was an Ultimate Powers book which unfortunately was released, which was not as good as it should have been in my mind. But what I do suggest, and what is always recommended, if a power is on here that is not on, that you're after that is not on here, then you are able to look at who has a power like that or similar to that, have a look at their stats, figure out the special abilities, the special requirements, anything else about that power, and then between you and the judge, you can work that out. Always there is an option. Never not an option, it's always there. So what we're looking at here, I will just stick with what's on this particular list, and you can see that first of all you got your category of power, followed by the list within that category. Now you can choose all you want, or you can roll and then choose, or you can, it's up to you. It's your hero. As I said before, the only real full-on random element are the stats. Aside from that, it's all guns blazing. So what we'll do, we've got 3 powers to choose from, and we'll have a look and see what comes from them. Okay, so that's 23. 23 is matter control. So if we have a look at matter control, you can see those powers there. We've got the good ones: earth control, air, fire, water, weather, density, body transformation, and so on, animal transformation, blah. So for others, that's all pretty handy. What I'm going to do with this particular character, I will choose, and I am going to go with air control. So I'm going to choose air control, and we'll start from there. So once we've got our power, we then roll to see what rank we're on, and powers are always on column 4. I think it mentions it once in one of the examples, and that's pretty much it. But column 4 is where we do our power ranks, and now we make a roll for that. $60, which gets us a remarkable. For our next power, $95. Body alteration, defensive. So if we have a look at that list, this is where we have some of our body armor, water breathing, absorption, regeneration, solar regeneration, recovery, and some other pieces as well. Alright, so healing others, regeneration, healing self, we know, like the Wolverine. Absorption, like Rogue or so on. You can do powers, we can sort all that out. Water breathing, or might go body armor, just because I don't have a lot of health, so I'm going to go body armor because it's a nice defensive touch. And let's have a look at rolling up for that. That is a 0-0, which gives us a monstrous body armor, 63 points. So what we do is we write that down here. And that's 63 for physical attacks, and it's -2 ranks, not minus 20 points, but -2 ranks for energy weapons. So basically that takes us to incredible, 40 versus energy. Our third power, $97, which brings us back to, oops, wrong one, some defensive powers again. We really want us to have some defensive powers. This time, I might roll. I'm tempted to say solar regeneration. In fact, I will. I'm going to say solar regeneration. So our character will have solar regeneration, who controls the air and has body armor in themselves. $37. And we'll have a look at that. That's good. So this is the description on the powers. So body armor against physical attacks, and how you have to get through the body armor first before you can affect any of the special effects. So if they can't get past the points, then for the most of the time you don't get hit by any other effect. Things like Sonic bypasses and mental bypasses body armor. Throwing attacks, they just talk about all the different types of things. And I was wrong, it is minus 20 points, not 2 ranks. So you have to pick a type of body armor, so whether it's tough skin or you've got an actual suit that's on and so on. What we'll do is we might just stick to the good old-fashioned tough skin, and our monstrous 63 goes to incredible 43 for versus energy. That's fine, we can sort that out. Now in terms of the solar regeneration, 10 minutes in the sun, then you heal just like a regeneration does, but you got to be in direct sunlight. You can't just be indoors, and it's not daylight, it's actual sunlight. And the minimum is endurance of the character plus 1 column shift. So we rolled up good as a value. Our endurance is remarkable, so it means that we move to incredible on 47. Incredible 37, sorry, incredible 37 for the regeneration. So the way that regeneration works is that you regain that in 10 rounds. So basically 3 points-ish a round, 3.7 particularly. But yes, so someone like Wolverine that's got obscene regeneration and so on. So anyway, so that's basically how that works. You've got to be in direct sunlight. Body armor, we'll change it back to 43. And air control. So this obviously controls the air and the air around. Lots of winds. As a defensive weapon, as an offensive weapon, you have to work it all out on your own. You just got to use your power stunts and power ranks to figure everything out. Now what you do is the heroes that may develop power stunts. A character with air control begins with 1 power stunt. These are some suggestions. And you know, I might go with flight. Just because remarkable flight is good, then I can work out what I want to do with it from there. So, but basically, in a general term, I can just control the air, use it as giant winds. So think airbender, and so on. And potentially weather, obviously, but not exactly weather. You might do some sort of very limited weather control. There you go. Very limited in some other things. And the judge will help you work out what rank everything's at. It's not always at the rank of the power. You can drop ranks depending on how far away the stunt is from the original power. So there are other things you can do to your powers to bring them up. So if you can add particular limitations to a power or to a series of powers if you wanted to try and bring them up. But generally, you know, you don't need to, but it's always an option. If you've got a low power, you put a small limitation on it and you might just get a bit of a boost rather than trying to turn something from the monstrous to an unearthly. Get like a good to an excellent. Sometimes just a rank can make a difference. Alright, so the next set of things we're looking at are skills. And we've got 2 skills and we've got a maximum of 5. So this means that during the career of the character they can learn more skills. They spend karma points for self-development and to gain skills. Once done that, then they can just add whatever they need to add. But to begin with, our character has two skills. So we're going to roll, because why not? Sorry, that's the chart that we're looking at right here. So now we're going to roll. 56. Professional skills. Looking at the professional skills, we have 1 skill in this section in here. Now we've got a pretty reasonable, we've got a good reason, being remarkable. That makes him quite, or her, or the character quite intelligent and quite good at these things. So could be worthwhile doing an engineering, and that's the reason that the character is the way the character is, because they can they blew something up, or they were ex-military or ex-law, or the little asterisk means that it requires 2 slots. So the character could be a doctor, a surgeon level, and that would take up all their skills, but then they'd be a doctor, and somehow from there became whatever it is that they are right here. Exposed to something, it's an altered human, so was a normal regular folk, suddenly turned into what they are in a daylight explosion outdoors or something. And I'm going to go, I know I'm twitching here, so many options. Now I'm going to go engineering. Engineering, and now for the second skill, 19, which is a weapon skill. So weapons are these things. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my mind on that. For my professional skill, I'm going military. Which gives me guns for my weapon skill. What I have decided in that brief moment of clarity, yes, he has a high reason, which means that well and truly capable of working within a research facility and capable of working within the military grounds of various ways and so on, and exposed to something during an experiment, and guess what happens? Boom, suddenly has the ability to control air, has like super tough, strong skin, not himself in total sort of strength, but like that amazing is really a good, that's maximum human capability, amazing. So for fighting, maximum human capability is excellent for strength, and same thing on there. So basically he's pushed himself well to get to that, and now we've got these stats. Great. So we've got our military and our guns. So being military, that's pretty much where it goes. Alright, so the next thing we look at is contacts. All right, now contacts are a little bit different, so we might just need to have a few moments to go through what makes them kind of different to the usual, and we'll take it from there. So just having had a quick look, so the skills there allow you to have a +1 column shift in anything to do with those matters, which is fine, so that's good. Whatever it might be, to do with the military or military matters or military systems or anything, gets a +1 column shift. And guns, pistols, firearms, rifles, etc., they all get a +1 column shift on the 2 hit for that. And understanding and manufacturing, if he was in weapons, he could build one with the +1 column shift on that from there, and so on. Now, his contacts, he automatically starts with a military contact because of the military, so that counts to his total of 4, but not his initial starting of 2. So he's going to have a specific contact in the military, which we'll just put there. And the way how the contacts work is that they are entirely defined by the player, with the judge's approval, on how the character started and the life and so on. So if the character is in a relationship with a reporter, you could say this person is a reporter. If the character is has a good rapport with a general, could be a good rapport with the army in general, as opposed to a specific person, you can choose that as well. So if you have a nice time with a good relationship with, say, SHIELD, then the operatives of SHIELD will be friendly toward you until they're not. But if you have a friend with Nick Fury, then Nick Fury might be more specific, but when he's out of favor, you're out of favor. Unlike the other areas, you can leave them blank. So if you wanted to leave them blank, then what you're able to do is just say, okay, well, I have to start with my 1 military contact, and I'm going to make that a colonel something or other. Insert here. We'll figure that out, but a colonel. Colonels are generally quite good for getting any resources or getting an understanding of something. And in fact, it just says military, so I might be Air Force. You never know. Air Control, Air Force, who knows? Or NASA or anything along those lines. I'm not a pilot specifically, so I don't have those skills. But the player is allowed to leave them blank and then say, I happen to know this guy, and then that's when it writes in. There can be obviously some abuse of that, but you don't have a lot of contacts. So, and generating contacts just happen along the way, and you can select from anyone. You can have a hero that is a contact, so you might be friendly with Captain America as opposed to the Avengers. You might have a friendship with the Fantastic Four, and so on. You can also use those resources and use that character sometimes to help. So these are the people that you have a great relationship or rapport with and are on good solid working relationships with. So someone who might have a relationship through their businesses with Stark Industries may just have Stark Industries. And then if they need Iron Man's help on something, or if they need to clarify something with Iron Man, they would go through those channels in order to be able to get that, and so on. So Iron Man will be neutral, a little bit friendly. Stark Industries itself will be friendly. If you've got the Colonel is friendly, and the Colonel is considered always a friendly, and whenever you want to do something, you need to do it based on your popularity. And that's where we do more of that column shift and feat sort of work, depending on what's in their interest and what's your interest and what we can all do from that. Basically, our hero has typical for their popularity. Now, when contacting the the colonel, and they need some information to stop a Hydra attack or to stop a convoy from or something that's in that colonel's interest, then there are 2 column shifts. Because if the colonel doesn't have to do too much or put too much effort into it, then that's a good thing for them if they get a benefit out of it. If it requires a little bit of extra effort, so the hero is being hunted by another part of the army for something they didn't do or did do for reasons, then that might be either no column shift or even a minus column shift. So basically, if you're wanting to do something, then a green. So what we have here is because the character wants to help. So when they're a friendly character, they want to help. So this just means that they're unable to help right now. They can't help, they don't have the information at hand, or they're not in a position where they can actually provide any assistance. The greens mean that the character can, but it takes a few days or it takes a bit of time. And then the yellows are same day or a handful of hours. And then the red is, hey, I happen to have all the information you need here, but by the way, I need you to do something for me. So they've got it there, they're good to go, they could quickly just hand it over, and so on. So someone like Captain America has unearthly, so pretty much whenever he talks to anybody, they're like over here. But Steve Rogers is all the way over there. So as Steve Rogers, no one knows who he is, he's way back. But as Captain America in the uniform with the shield, we're there. So that's pretty good. So this character starts off here, and popularity goes up and down depending on what you do and how much people see. If you do something that's good on camera, then you gain in popularity. If you do something bad on camera, or media attack or so on, the Daily Bugle decides to have a go, then you lose popularity. So popularity just goes up and down as you do your job as a hero. Filling out a little bit more on our contacts here, what I have is Colonel Parmenter, who's in the military, who's my direct contact, and I'm going to say that yes, the Colonel knows exactly who, if you have a name, Turbulence happens to be. Yeah, Turbulence. No, Air Control, Turbulence. See, I know what I'm doing. And then Dr. Freeman, who's a scientist, I'm thinking works for a research group or university or someone, and this person helped our hero. Yeah, look at that, see, you've got a name as well, Alex Ryder. So, helped our hero understand the nature of the powers and so on. So, we have a civilian contact in the science world, biology, maybe involved with a project or maybe separate, and Colonel Parmenter, who may or may not have been involved in the project, or just the commanding officer or whatever. So anyway, so when you choose these sorts of contacts, you obviously get to tap them regularly. You can. So if you need some help with your science, this particular scientist is a biology scientist, so their reason will be something, then they'll have biology, and they may have a couple of other science skills as well, and they'll also have a lab and a research facilities and resources of up to a certain point that they have access to. Same thing with the Colonel. The Colonel will have access to resources up to a certain point, and these are the things that the judge needs to work out. So Colonel Parmenter might have remarkable resources. So as long as something's not rare, if the if Turbulence needs to borrow a laser rifle, that's one thing. But if it needs to actually get the information about another officer or a science project or a top secret thing, that's something else. So that's when the resource ranks also come into play in the same sort of way, and of what they're able to actually provide. So you may need to have much higher rank in resources to be able to get something and so on. So that's how how that works. And depending on who you are, you also have a lot of safety gaps. So you might know the President of the United States, but what they can do is different to what you think they can do. So it may not be worthwhile sometimes having those super duper contacts. While it's nice, you get invited to the right parties, they may not actually be able to help you on a day-to-day. So basically this is our guy. Turbulence, Major Alex Ryder, retired. Yeah, I don't know, just picked an age, seems good. Altered human, me, the Eldar guy, stats, health, karma, personal resources, maybe that's a military pension or just a regular bank check has a small part-time job or something. Popularity, just starting out. With the powers of air control, body armor, and solar regeneration. Then we've got our contacts based off our talents over here. So this is where we can create, because karma are points that you spend on a regular basis. You can use them to improve dice rolls for particular actions. So if you need to do something specific, you can spend a karma points to improve your dice rolls, or for other effects or similar effects. Or you can put some aside and save it for advancement. So you can just put a little bit aside, and then when you get enough, you can improve your stats, talents, or powers. A karma pool is when you and your hero buddies get together and throw in to create a pool. So the starting karma, 84. Turbulence might put 50 in, and everyone might just go, okay, let's put 50 karma points in between the 3 or 4 heroes, and then that way when we're doing something as a team, we can spend those points when we're doing our like during the adventure. If it's just a one-off, like if you're just doing 2 guys that just hang out together for the same thing, they may not do a pool. But if it's a regular gig and you've got an actual group, it may be worthwhile, because some characters have a leadership ability which throw in extra points whenever they start a karma pool. So what you can't do is give karma to other people. Let's chip in to buy someone an extra rank of body armor. But what you can do is you just put it all into the pool, and then whenever they need it as a group, you can say, yep, you can spend it, and boom, they can spend it to increase their dice rolls. For every karma point they spend, minimum of 5 I think it is, you can increase your dice roll. Just saying I spend karma is an automatic cost, but then you can, once you've said that, you might roll the dice, and if you need to, you can add as much as you need to get the result you're after. Oh good. Alright, so we've got ourselves a reasonably well defined character. Next is to just create a proper background, and we're good to go. Okay, so in terms of making a character, it's not difficult and it doesn't take a long time, but if you do want to do something that's a little bit funky, there can be a little bit of negotiation. So it's handy to have the judge on speed dial, or at least have them around when you're making the character, so you can sort of get into it and know what you're doing. When you're doing your own heroes, is a little bit different obviously to the pre-gens and the and modeling it off an existing hero. But again, the judge will walk you through what you need to do, and hopefully they have as much of an idea as you do, and we can take it from there. So alright, so that's roughly, well, that's pretty much exactly how characters are made. And we can, we've got ourselves Turbulence, who's sounds like he's good to go. He's got just enough defenses to keep himself alive, and he's got just enough strength to be able to push a few people around, pun intended, and give himself some options for growth. Alright, so I want to thank everybody. Remember, subscribe, like, Patreon if possible if you like to see this content and a little bit more. let me know. I do take requests. I get the occasional request comes through to me just to sort of talk about topics and to figure things out. So we're living in the 80s, but we've got a few other games that we can look at if that's something that's worthwhile. I appreciate everyone's time and patience in putting these together, and I really hope that we can get into this game a little bit more, because this system, it seriously rocks. It can seem a little unwieldy at a point, but it's very difficult to get to that point anyway. But we can explore some of those options, especially changing it up into a more standard gameplay. Some of the systems have started to use the old FASERIP system and started to get used to it, so you might see this chart or variation of floating around, and this is what we're talking about. Anyway, again, thank you very much and look forward to seeing everyone. Bye.